You're the prisoner that was being transferred for execution. You were with those soldiers outside.
Oh, I see. You're with stars.
Rising from its 2002 grave, Resident Evil 0 has returned to strike fear in the hearts of console and PC players. Originally planned as a Nintendo 64 exclusive, 0 was eventually released on the GameCube and later re-released with minimal changes on the Wii. Capcom has now remastered the often forgotten prequel for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC with an all-new widescreen presentation and updated controls. So, is it worth it? Ultimately, your enjoyment will depend on personal expectations. Resident Evil 0 is fascinating from a franchise standpoint as it marks the end of the series' infamous fixed camera perspective and intentionally difficult tank controls. Released between the celebrated reimagining of the original Resident Evil and the revolutionary Resident Evil 4, 0 is an example of a franchise growing dangerously stagnant. In an effort to evolve the gameplay, director Koji Oda and his team introduced a unique partner system, encouraging players to utilize the strengths of two characters simultaneously with the use of both analog sticks in combat and separately in puzzles and exploration. Rebecca is able to mix powerful medicines together, while Billy can take far more damage and move large objects. The familiar storage boxes were removed in lieu of an inventory exchange mechanic, requiring far more management and strategy than previous entries. Though this concept is initially exciting, problems quickly emerge when the two become separated. At one point, Billy and Rebecca must exchange items through a small elevator, meaning players will have to call the slow-moving machine, pick out the object, send it down, and then switch to the other character to retrieve it. Worse yet, inventories are quickly filled for both characters, including weapons that require 2 complete slots. What starts off as a contemplative examination of resources, this mechanic immediately becomes an obnoxious chore. Exploration is also hindered by the simple task of entering rooms and climbing stairs, which contain inexcusably long load times. As fondly as some might recall the slow swinging of a 3D door, it's strange that systems as powerful as the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 are held back by the GameCube's limitations, especially when cutscenes can instantly be skipped at the press of a button. This is further exacerbated by the game's early train location featuring incredibly small rooms. Considering the amount of backtracking required to advance, you can expect an upwards of 14 seconds loading time for every 30 seconds of gameplay. This claustrophobic environment also wreaks havoc on interactive objects. I often selected the wrong item by only being slightly misaligned from my target. This can become especially frustrating when objects are close to doors. Then there's combat, which fully retains the look and feel of the original games. Characters automatically swing in the direction of their attacker, which is handy considering how often the approaching danger is off-screen. Each weapon can fire from a low, medium, and high range to take advantage of weak points for each enemy. Knives, handguns, and shotguns are showcased in the early environments, with many more such as grenades and machine guns introduced as the game progresses. Resident Evil 0 is easily the most combative of the pre-Resident Evil 4 games, but the results are mixed. Enemies seemingly take more damage and appear in greater number to compensate for the game's partner combat system. This also creates a devastating difficulty spike when the two become separated. And that's the real irony with Resident Evil 0. Sure, the tropes of mixing herbs for health and locating ink ribbons to save were predictable by 2002, but they worked. Sadly, most of Zero's issues stem from its new ideas for inventory management and the two playable characters. In fact, its only real successes were its incredible graphics and lighting engine, both of which have aged about as well as you'd expect. Though the game does pick up later on, most recall Resident Evil 0 as one of the lowest points in the series, which is rather funny, considering the latest entry, Resident Evil 6, was considered in much the same way. So, is Resident Evil 0 worth it? No. Unless you're one of the few defenders of this title, you're better off picking up the superior Resident Evil remake released last January. Resident Evil 0 is currently available on the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC for $20. If you've had a chance to play it, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. And if not, let me know if you plan on picking it up. My name is Colin Tanner, and I'll see you in the next video.